All right, so this is the tricky part about this class. In order for me to know if you're learning, what do I do to you? What did you all fill out last class? Come on. Not last class, I'm sorry, 2 classes ago. Yeah, someone just said it, but how do I measure whether you know something or not? What does the test measure? Nope. 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 There's probably 4 or 5 people that their grades aren't entered into Canvas yet. If your grade is not entered into Canvas, guess why? No, I like putting bad grades in Canvas. It's motivating. No. No, I don't do that. No, so you didn't fill out your bubbles properly. Bubble filling behavior is one of the #1 things how I test your knowledge in this class. So there's 3 or 4 tests that have student ID numbers that don't match any student ID numbers in my folder anywhere. You put the wrong number on there. Okay, so what I have to do is my TA, Anna, did yesterday. She went through all of them. There's still 2 that we can't figure out exactly who they are. Mosias, one of my students in my yesterday class said, oh, my grade's not entered. Great. We found his test, and then we have the 2 scan runs, and we kind of looked at the pencil, what he used the pen, and it was a pen. Fine, found his. So it's nothing about how much you know. It's about bubble filling behavior. Okay, so when we talk about something that I still can't say it. Operationalization. I only get 2 or 3 times a day that I can say it properly. So, does anybody remember what this word means when you operationalize something? Come on, Quiet Class 2.0, let's go. It's a behavior defined by its measurement. So, first of all, okay, let me give you a behavior. Anybody know what a burpee is? Yeah, ew, it's generally how we usually say when you see burpees written on the board. Okay, so how do you know if you can do a burpee? Before you can try it, how do you know if you can do it? There. I did a burpee. Oh. Unless you define it by a measurement, I have no idea what you're talking about. That tasted a lot bad, by the way. That was not good. Yeah. I got green tea with milk in it. Really good on the one side, bad on the back. Okay. So what do we have to do before you can ask a question like, can you do a particular behavior or not? You have to. Okay, so define it by a measurement. So I ask, can you yo-yo? And then you go, oh, what's a yo-yo? Well, you throw it down and it comes back up. Yes, if he bounces it down and it comes back up, we can measure the number of times he catches it. We can say he can yo-yo. But this takes a lot of the fun out of psychology because if you say, well, I'm sad, what does that mean? I don't know. I feel sad. Well, okay, feel sad. Is that an operationalization? Can I measure if you're feeling sad? Well, I can have you fill in a bubble on a scale of 1 to 10. How sad do you feel? 4. Oh, you're a 4. Yeah. Anybody ever go to the doctor's office and they have the faces, like how much pain are you in? Mine's like, ooh, little face. Why do they have those faces? Kids can't know what a 10 or a 7 feels like, but they can recognize that face. If you don't speak English, and the doctor's going, blah, 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 blah. You're like, crap. I don't know what he's saying. He points to the chart and goes, oh. And you go, that one. Got it. But again, it's a way of communicating because it's a very specifically defined behavior. That'd be really fun to get our next Psych Club t-shirt with a little really painful looking face on it. Okay. Try the print. Okay, so funny to me. Okay, moving on. So, whenever you operationalize something, when you give a operational definition for something, you have to come up with a measurement. So what is a burpee? If people don't know. Okay, but exercise is not a measurable behavior. Because what does exercise mean? Okay, so it has to be, I'm going to change color here so we can emphasize this. Articulation of limbs. Now, you could say also contraction of muscles, but we're not going to go there. So in order for us to measure a behavior as an articulation of limbs. Articulation of limbs means that you contract a muscle and a part of your body moves. Okay, so we can say a behavior by defining it as articulation of limbs. So in order to do a burpee, what do we need to articulate? Anybody want to do a burpee for the class? Yeah, I'll do it, but it'll be lots of crunching sounds in a minute. The first couple movements, let me see if I got. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now, because my son's growing so fast, I can crack his back like you wouldn't believe. He just wrap his arms up, and I gently pick him up and go, whoop, and hear this. He's like, oh. Anyway, okay, so in order to do a burpee, what is the first movement that you have to do? Aha. Okay. Fall on floor. Right? You can't do the push-up first. What do you have to do? Okay, well, this is important because if you just try to fall on the floor and do a push-up at the same time, you end up flying flat on your face and then pushing yourself off the ground. So you have to do a plank first. Right? Okay, so you do a plank first, then what? Push-up. So now push-up is defined. You could actually define what a push-up is. You can define what a plank is because those are measurable behaviors. Then what do you do? And then you go back on floor. So your standard burpee is basically... Yeah, you can hear the crunching up front. Very nice. Okay. So a standard burpee is you have to follow those procedures. How do you know you've done a burpee properly? You can hear it. Yeah, they're called burpees for a reason. My buddy Pete, he's one of my neighbors. He's a great guy. Our neighbors always get him and I confused. I don't know why, but Pete and Steve, I guess, sound familiar. So everybody says, "Hey Pete" to me and "Hey Steve" to him. He is 5'10". He's gotten down to about $180. He's getting ready to do a Spartan race. The Spartan race, if anybody's ever seen one of those. You have to do kind of cray-cray stuff, like you run like a mile through the woods, and then you have to pick up a 50-pound sandbag and run up a hill with it and run down a hill with it. If you drop it, you have to do 30 burpees. When you get back with the sandbag. 30. That's a lot, just for the record. Then you have to run another mile and do something else stupid, and if you screw it up, you have to do 30 burpees. Then you run another mile, and you do something stupid, like throw a spear or climb a rope or fill in whatever obstacle they throw at you, climb over a wall or something stupid. And then if you screw that up, 30 burpees. The people that win these races don't screw up the challenges. Because if you throw the spear and you miss, 30 burpees, what does that do to your heart rate? Well, you're already running, and you just carried a 50-pound bag of sand up a hill and down. Do the girls get to carry a lighter bag? No. Makes a man out of you. Anyway. that there's different levels of competition. You can go in the pansy condition, which is that my friend, my neighbor Alicia and my neighbor Pete are doing together. And that which they don't have to carry the 50-pound bag. You can carry, if you carry the 50-pound bag, you go up the hill half the way. If you carry a 60 or 40-pound bag, you go a little further. 20-pound bag, you go further. Carry a 10-pound bag, you can go to the top and back down. So they grade it. But how do I know you can do a burpee? If you define it properly, if you define the push-up properly, someone can watch you and say, yes, you just did a burpee. They have people called minders, kind of like Communist Party people that follow you around in strange countries. What the minder does is the minder watches you do burpees. Doesn't count, doesn't count, doesn't count. And then you punch them in the face. Because you're like 28, your arms are too tired to go all the way down and do a push-up, and they keep yelling, doesn't count. Thanks for that. But how do they know it doesn't count? Because the behavior is specifically defined as you have to go all the way down, you have to go all the way up, you have to land on your feet have to jump off the ground, your hands have to come above your head. Because it's so specifically defined. The same thing with Olympic weightlifting. Anybody watch weightlifting in here? Professional putting things up and putting things down? I mean, it's really crazy watching some of these professional weightlifters. They'll pick up 450 pounds. They're smaller, about 185 pounds, guys and girls. The girls pick up around 350, 180-pound girls. They put it here, they catch it, and then they put it above their head. Craziness. But if they go, because some people are strong enough, they just go like this, with the 400 pounds. Doesn't count. If you press it at all, it doesn't count. You have to catch it with your arms locked. So why define things so specifically? Well, I wouldn't suggest being able to press 400 pounds is cheating. I'd say good job. But in order for you to compete in some of these events, they have to really specifically define the behaviors to make it so that it is fair for everybody. I have a great video of the Turkish guy blowing his elbow. Everybody see that in the Olympics? Catch the weight, this elbow goes, whoopah! And just goes, his hand, like elbows here and his hands down here with the weight. I was like, and then you can hear the announcers, ooh, that's gonna hurt. And he just drops the weight, grabs his elbow, arm going this way, but hands, okay. It's okay if you urinate while weightlifting, as long as you complete the lift. Okay. Really tough too, I'll tell you. All right. So now, this is important because I wrote this little formula up here. This little formula. It's a little smaller. I'll make it bigger first, and I'll make it smaller and explain it. Okay. This little formula right here is called the law of effect. This is always true. This is always true. Okay? Always true. I'm going to define what these things mean for you, and then we're going to go talk about them in a lot more obnoxious detail. The letter B represents behavior. Did I do this on Thursday? You were in there, yeah. You guys did great, by the way. The group that worked out there, really, it was you? Okay, it was him. He just took all the credit. Yeah, I helped them all. Yeah, okay. Excellent work. Okay. So, a behavior is defined by its measurement. It's operationalized. In order for you to measure anything, you have to figure out a way to measure it. I know that's redundant, but it's important to know. Okay, so anything that's a behavior, what does this little small sideways smiley face mean? It's supposed to be an equals followed by a greater than sign. Okay, but basically means followed by. In mathematical symbols, that means followed by. So behavior followed by, the letter S represents a stimulus. Represents the letter a stimulus. So behavior followed by a stimulus that has a little R next to it, which stands for, not response, reinforcement. So behavior followed by a stimulus that's a reinforcement. If there's no sign in front of something, is it a positive or negative? It's a positive. Okay? So that means that think of a plus in front of it, but there's not really, but there is. So what's in front of this other stimulus? Whoa. I forgot pneumatic ear drill. All right. I need to put some texture on this because I can't see the button on here. This different program that I'm using today, the pen works a lot smoother, so hopefully you can see the writing a little better. If you don't know what it says, what should you do? What the hell does that say? And point. I'll figure it out. Okay. So anyway, so punishment. So a stimulus that is a punishment, what symbol's in front of it? Negative. Okay, so this is important coming up in a few minutes. These little 3 dots represent the word therefore. Three little dots mean therefore. I'm going to write this over here just to make sure. A behavior followed by a stimulus that's either a punishment or a reinforcement. Therefore, what's the triangle for? Delta, which means, whoa. Oh, I love Ohana's. It's like my favorite restaurant in the world. The Ohana's pork burrito, awesome. Okay. So the delta means behave. B means behavior. And the last little part, good morning, excellent attendance. The lowercase r represents probability. And those people that are in statistics, r equals the sum of z, x, z, y divided by n. But we'll just ignore that. Okay, so I'll erase that so you don't write it down, because then you go, what the hell did I just write down? I don't know. Take stats. It's exciting. Okay. Probability. What does probability mean? This is really important in the world. Chances. What are the chances of? Okay, so probability has a lot to do with behavior. I'm going to write this word up here in this bright yellow-orange color. Choice. This formula right here, come on. It's a little bit wacky on the touchscreen. That's supposed to use the touchscreen. Anyway, so a behavior followed by a stimulus that's a reinforcement or a punishment results in a change in behavioral probability. In other words, this is how you make a choice. So I'm going to show you a little video clip, and I want you to see if you can see the stimulus involved with the little video clip. Okay? So whenever we're doing any sort of behavioral science, we use this formula. We use this law of effect. Is this always true? Yes. The only things that are laws in psychology is this. This is the only thing that's always true in psychology. But there's a problem with it, but we'll get to that in a few seconds. So let me go to, oh yeah. It's not there, it's on my Google picture, sorry. Yeah, that formula becomes so important, and it's a really explanatory formula. This is what happens when my son's home all day by himself. At least he can feed himself. We got a bowl of clam chowder. Looks like 5 eggs. Not sure what the measuring spoons were for. And we also have 1 bowl of cereal and... Why can't you use the same bowl? Because he's 12. Anyway, that's what we got home to yesterday. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down to my winter session class, and I recorded Fluffy. There's Fluffy in her little raincoat. Sorry. It's a very hard dichotomy that I have. There's my daughter's winter formal and her little friends. Oh, the Google with the caffeine in it. Awesome. Okay. Oh, there's Fluffy again. Hi. See, she looks like that right now. She desperately needs a bath. Okay, Fluffy coming up here in a couple seconds. I think it was before this. Oh, there's Fluffy again. She's a little more fluffy in that Fluffy picture. There she is. Okay. It's not a flattering camera angle for me, I just must say. Okay, moving on. Got to hear my voice because I talked to my dog. Okay, so here she goes. Here is Fluffy. Fluffy is probably walking around to go look for a place on the rug to pee on because she's...
Start out. Subject. Willing subject. Okay.
So, right now... Oops, sorry. Stop it.
Start out.
Stop. Thank you. Okay, so is she paying attention to me? Somewhat. I walk in the room, she looks at me. Hello. And then I walk away, and she like... No, just not even... She's aware, she's looking for probably a soft blanket. She loves soft blankets. If you take a soft blanket and put it down anywhere, in like 3 seconds, she's sitting on it. My wife got this really nice, soft, fluffy one from Nordstrom for Christmas, and as soon as she unwrapped it, the dog's like climbing in her lap going, oh yeah. Okay. So now, let's see if you can find when there's a stimulus involved. So I walk into the kitchen. Okay.
Willing subject.
Is she wagging her tail?
Okay.
Not even. Just chilling.
See if there's any stimulus involved.
I open the refrigerator. It is Pavlov, and we'll talk about Pavlov in just a few minutes, but why is she licking her chops? She's like, hey. So it turns out if I just open the fridge, she doesn't come. But if I open the cheese drawer, every time Grandpa comes over, Grandpa gives her snacks. She loves Grandpa. She's so excited when Grandpa comes over. And she comes over, and she wags her tail and jumps up on Grandpa and then sits down in front of the fridge. Why does she sit in front of the fridge? Is Grandpa a reinforcement? Yeah. Grandpa's a reinforcement. What does he give her? Treats. Cheese sticks. We actually buy those little mozzarella cheese sticks pretty much for Grandpa and the dog. I don't eat them very often. My wife doesn't eat them very often. The kids don't like them, but they disappear because Grandpa comes over, eats one, and feeds the other half to the dog. Or sometimes gives the dog a whole one. Okay. Oops, sorry. Count the time. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. Hello. Cheese drawer. Notice he starts wagging, and what is she going to do now?
Cheese stick out. Does she like cheese sticks? I think she likes cheese sticks. All right.
She's very fluffy and cute. That's why. Okay, so now we're going to try a new trick. She's not very well trained. We don't like to have trained dogs. We like to have dogs. And so I know how to train dogs, but it's more fun to have a dog that's a dog than having a well-trained thing that follows you around and does everything you say. We like her to have her own self. So one of the things I've never told her to do was to sit and stay. Okay, does she know how to sit? Yeah, we taught her to squirrel, which is stand on her back feet. Very cute. Somewhere there's a video of me squirreling. So, or me squirreling? Yes, that's weird. But okay. Okay. So dark times in our lives. Okay, so now, when you hear me talk to her, how come I raise my voice and sound like I'm talking to a little child? Because she's cute. Yes, she is very cute. But what's interesting is baby talk does work for engaging babies in conversation. If you go, hello, baby, hello, and the baby looks at you, oh, you're speaking my tone. It turns out that higher frequency sounds, babies tend to pay more attention to than low sound. Dog's the same way. When a dog is excited when it's barking, what happens to the pitch of its bark? It gets higher. You can tell a dog's excited when it's barking because the frequency is higher. So if you make excited sounds, will the dog become excited? Yes, and this is part of what we call the dog's Umwelt, which I'll explain in a few minutes. Okay, so now...
You do a good sit, right? Okay.
Look at her licking her lips. Now, little fluffy dogs don't drool. I mean, they do, but they're too classy to actually drool. Anybody have a drooly dog in here? What kind? Oh, jeez, that's a big bundle of muscle and drool. Yeah, it's like giant poop. Yeah. Okay, sorry, that's what I think of. Okay, so I miss those shoes. Those blew out just not too long ago. The whole heel broke off. I love Vans, but they do not last long at all. Okay, sorry. So, so she's sitting there and she's anticipating. How do we know she's anticipating getting fed? She's sitting, she's staring at me. Notice her tail is waggy, she keeps licking her chops. So we notice these documented changes in behavior. But notice her crouching her back. She'll like slowly scoot backwards like she's going to pounce.
Stay.
Give her a command.
Gonna wait for a minute or so.
I can't take it! So what did I just do? Okay, so but what was the behavior that I was manipulating? I'm giving her lots of stimuli that are reinforcing to her. Does she like the cheese sticks? Yeah, she wants the cheese sticks because she's demonstrating that she's begging and wanting cheese sticks. Well, so what I do is I give her a command, stay, and what does stay entail? I can't explain to her what stay means, but I can tell her what stay means. When do I give her the cheese stick? If she waits. If she doesn't move, I give her the cheese stick. Can I explain this to her? No. The nice thing about humans is a lot of our stimuli are cognitive. We think about stimuli. So if I say, hey, if you wait over there for 10 minutes, I'll give you $1. Hold the suitcase. Don't ask any questions. Okay. So the dog, I can't say that to the dog, but can I teach that to the dog? Yeah, so I operationalize the definition. I want you to sit still. For the first time she sits still, I wait a second or two. Then I give her the food. But then what happens each time?
Sit.
I wait longer each time. There's the tail.
Good job. Here we go. Look at it. Sit. Down.
Now watch. I'll step back. And then she'll follow me.
Stay.
Do I give her reinforcement?
No.
Why not?
Stay. Oh, stay. Stay. Good job. This is a good job. Okay, it's a good job.
So when did I feed her? When her tail stopped wagging. So when her tail stopped wagging, I said, okay, that means she is waiting patiently. When her tail's still wagging, she's like on the offensive line, ready to go. And so I just keep doing it. Watch her tail.
Went back, wait over here. Nope. Good job. Good sit. Good sit. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So why don't I reinforce her, even though she's so cute you just want to? She's not doing the desired behavior, so in order for her to get the cheese stick, what does she have to do? Wait. She has to wait. And so I use the command stay. What does the word stay become? It's stimulus. the word stay becomes a stimulus. And the stimulus then is reinforcing for her, because what is she, if I tell her to stay and she stays sitting, what does she get? Cheese stick, eventually.
Stay.
My son's funny.
1, nope. Stay. 1, 2,
Cheese stick.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, 10 is a big number. Stay. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Her eyes are really funny.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's a big child.
Okay, so I can keep doing this, and I do. But the object is that once you define a behavior that you want to reinforce, what do you have to look for? Once you define a behavior, what do you have to do? Well, it's easy to measure this because you can actually, I count, so I can count the length of time that she's sitting without moving forward. I can also measure the distance that I get from her. Some dogs are great, really well trained. The guy that does the little auto work on our cars, his name's Rick. He has a boxer, and his boxer is extremely well trained. It's the dog. It's his shop guard dog, because people love going to car places and stealing tools. Tools are very expensive and they're very easy to sell. So he has the shop dog, and you cannot go steal a tool. If you walk over near the tool chest, what does the dog do? Just gets up and slowly walks towards you. It's very creepy. And the dog just walks slowly towards you, not saying a thing. And you're like, what? And I don't know if the dog will bite anybody or not, but I'm not going to find out. Anyway, what's this? Okay, so, once you identify the behavior that you want, then you have to figure out what a stimulus is for that particular organism. You have to define the behavior first, then you have to look at the stimulus. Okay, so I'm going to draw a stimuli down here. We go further down. So here's how we define a burpee. So I want to show you a quick little video of a stimulus then. I think it's actually here. It's easier to find on YouTube. I'm in Boston. Nice. I didn't spell my name right. I didn't have my glasses on. Okay. Oh, this is great. This is 9 years ago? No way.
Side and down there. Can you go halfway down that?
This is my brother and nephew and myself.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
This is Vermont. This is totally not what I wanted to show, but it's totally worth it.
Right. What else would there be? Ready?
Yeah.
Deux, trois.
Totally worth it. Okay, sorry. In all the ski races that we always go to, the starters are always French, because a lot of times we're in Canada. And so they always, whenever they start, un, deux, trois, and then the thing goes beep, and then when you cross the starting line, then you go. And so it's just the standard way of sledding. Okay. Okay, so now this is subtle. Every night at 6:30, my wife and I go for a walk. Well, used to. We still do now with little Fluffy Dog. It's called getting the wiggles out. If anybody has a dog, why would you take them out for a walk right before you go to bed? So they can poo, so they can sleep. The dog, once it has a nice big bowel movement, the dog is happy and will sleep all night. If the dog has to poo, what will it do all night? Rustle, 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 trip, 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 trip. The worst part ever is when this stupid thing would have the trots from eating something nasty it found on the yard, and then every hour it would want to go outside again to go to the bathroom. why can't you just let your dog outside and go to the bathroom? Well, A, this thing, our black lab years ago, would go eat something nasty that it found in the yard. B, would try to catch a skunk. 5, 6 times she's gotten sprayed by skunks. And if anybody has a lab, anybody have a lab in here? Yeah, they have like lots of layers of fur. And because they have lots of layers of fur, once they get sprayed by a skunk, it's special. It stays for a nice long time. Anyway, so every night at 6:30 we're going for a walk. And so she would always beg to go for a walk. So I wanted to record it for class. And my wife will nag at me here.
She'll do it, Steve. Just give her a chance. You want it to be natural.
Okay.
Did you get that right?
I did. Okay. Oops, sorry. Oh, that's perfect timing. Okay. So that's her barking while she's inhaling. So is that barking behavior, something that she planned or is something that just happens? It happens to the point where even if she's eating a bowl of food, my kids discovered this as they got older. This was right before my daughter was born. This is in December. My daughter was born in April, so my wife was very pregnant at this point. And it was funny because the doorbell was on that old CRT TV you see right there. Okay, that's where the doorbell was, but what did the dog do? Was that stimulus tells the dog to make a choice? Was it reflex or conscious? Yeah, stimulus response is a reflex. It's unconscious. The stimulus response is a very simple reflex. It's unconscious. However, the stimulus that caused the dog to bark is not something that's in the dog's natural Umwelt. I'm going to write that word up here. Umwelt is a German word, which means it's your sensory experience. Your Umwelt is your sensory experience. I'll play a quick little video clip of a Umwelt here. Someone remind me to start the video recording again. He's not memorized it. He has developed a stimulus to it. Okay, your Umwelt is your sensory experience. You learn stimuli. Through association. You learn stimuli through association. He says a word. If you watch the rest of this TED Talk, you can Google it and find the rest of it. But it's crazy. So this one guy was putting the stock market onto his back. All the stock market symbols and all the data was just flowing onto his back. So he would sit and watch the stock market as he felt it on his back. And his consciousness can understand stock market's rising, stock market's falling, stock market's rising, stock market's falling. Hey, there's a very sudden drop in these stocks. And then all of a sudden he starts getting a feeling. Hey, when my back does, the stock market crashes or goes down. So as he's watching the stock market, he gets on his E-Trade and just sits there and he gets a feeling, oh no, and then he sells. Stock market goes down, so he buys. Gets the feeling, stock market goes back up. Sells again. So what does he start to do? Well, yeah, benefit from it, but he's anticipating, that's the key word, he's using the associations between the patterns on his back and how he's feeling. Is it conscious or unconscious? It's unconscious. It's the same way if you learn the second language. You kind of wake up one morning and someone says something and you understand it immediately, as opposed to having to go, wait, wait. And as soon as you start understanding it immediately, that's when the association has become complete. Okay, so this happens in your cerebellum. This happens down here in your brain. Remember the connectome video? Remember that? Okay, connectome video. Anytime two neurons cross each other, what can form? A synapse. Anytime two neurons can cross each other forms a synapse. It turns out that when you have two stimuli that are presented simultaneously, they form a synapse in your cerebellum. Two stimuli form synapses in your cerebellum. As soon as they find synapses in your cerebellum, when one stimulus is present, the next one starts to feel. Unconscious, completely out of your control. Okay, so the guy by the name of Ivan Pavlov came up with this, which is actually a lie. A guy by the name of Edwin B. Twittmeyer came up with this. How come you have never heard of Edwin B. Twittmeyer? Yeah, he's a twit. No, he worked at Boston University. Okay? The problem with Mr. Twittmeyer is he didn't have a Nobel Prize. Turns out, if I discover, like, this is a really horrible one. My grandfather, back years ago, took a blood pressure medication along with some heart medication that he was taking. My grandfather was always trying to work the system. So he was going to two different doctors using the same insurance to get double treatment. But why is that bad? Mixing medications is bad. Okay? The blood pressure medication and this heart medication he was on interacted and caused Parkinson's disease. So he woke up in the morning and he couldn't move. He was like rigid. And I said, ooh, drug interactions, probably Parkinson's disease. No one listened to Community College Whiner. My sister, who happens to be a doctor, goes, oh, it's probably a drug interaction caused by his heart medicine. And you go, everybody goes, ooh, and then listen to her. Hey, I study the brain. I know what I've done. No one cares. But how come they don't listen to me? I said it 2 days before she did, though. On record, people heard me. Okay. Hey, I'm like, she goes, yeah, it's probably a drug interaction. Goes, oh, really? Okay, so why doesn't people listen to me? You don't even have a PhD, dude. Just get away from here. Well, if you have more cred, people listen to you. Pavlov had more cred than Mr. Twittmeyer. Sorry, Mr. Twittmeyer. Anyway, Pavlov studied dog drool. What stimulus is in the dog's umvelt that causes dogs to drool? Food. As soon as I open the cheese stick drawer, the dog is like, she's too classy to actually drool. So she cleans it up right away. Okay, so food is a unconditioned stimulus. Food is a natural thing in the dog's umvelt. It's naturally there, it's unconditioned. And that stimulus causes drool. Drool is a response. A change in behavior based on stimulus. Simple. Okay? Pavlov discovered something, which I don't think he was that brilliant for figuring this out, but he has an assistant, Tibor. His assistant, Tibor, would come into the lab. All the dogs would wag their tails and smile at him and get excited when Tibor walks in, just like Grandpa. When Pavlov walked in, all the dogs kind of like put their tails down and looked at him. Tibor did most of the work with the dogs. He's the one that Pavlov studied dog digestion, so they did surgery on the dogs and looked at their stomachs, and they did surgery on their salivary glands, and so they weren't the nicest people to the dogs. But how come the dogs were excited to see Tibor? But if you interact with them negatively every day, yeah, Tibor owned dogs as pets at home. So he was a dog person. Pavlov probably had a cat. And a Macintosh. No, anyway, so, before computers, so that's funny. Okay, but so Pavlov didn't like dogs. So Pavlov didn't really treat the dogs like anything other than research subjects, experiments. Tibor liked dogs, so Tibor had dogs, and so Tibor always snuck dinner scraps into the dogs and pet them on the head, and even though he was doing these procedures with them, he would pet them while they're doing the procedures to calm them down. And so the object is Tibor became a stimulus. The dogs were happy to see Tibor. And then so Pavlov goes, why the hell are the dogs happy to see him and not me? how are the dogs conscious of the difference? Because before Pavlov, non-dog people didn't understand that dogs have consciousness. Anybody who is a dog person knows that dogs have consciousness. Do dogs bond with their humans? Yes. Dogs actually, there's a really fun experiment where they stuffed a little Boston Terrier in an fMRI machine. My summer class had to watch this video. But basically, when a dog sees their owner, it creates a reward circuit in their brain. It is, oh yeah, your dog does love you. Cats? No. Cat sees their food, gets a reward circuit. Neutered male cats do produce reward when they see their owner. Female cats and unaltered cats, Neutered male cats, however, will love their owners. So if you want a truly bonded cat, fix your male cat and he'll be your friend forever. Fix him before he starts spraying on crap, though. Oh, horror. Why? It probably has to do with you take a lot of the cat out of the cat when you cut off the business. Well, no, but when the cat is unaltered, how do you think the cat behaves? Well, based on its hormones, not based on its situation. Because the same thing as a lot of dogs, a lot of police dogs are males. Because they're more aggressive. But the problem with that is that if you want one way is to distract your drug shipment from being detected by the dog, is get a female dog in heat and have it walk all over the place prior to bringing your drugs in. What will the male dog do? Get distracted. Start humping its officer's leg. I'm sorry, this is still so good. Okay, so moving on. So Pavlov discovered, so one of the things that Pavlov did is his real experiment was with something called a metronome, but not many people know what metronomes are, so I'm just going to use the old classic. That doesn't look like a bell at all. I'll write the word bell next to it. Okay, I'll fix it.
Understanding of what's
Stop. I did again. This is totally worth it at this point. No, it's not. I just want to steal the image. I can't see without my glasses on. I try, but I can't. Okay, try this one more time because it's totally important to steal this. Oh, it's cheaper at Walmart. Save, copy, image. I copied link address, didn't I? Yeah, sorry. There it is. Whew, totally not worth it, but there we go. Okay, so Pavlov rings a bell. This is a lie. He actually used the metronome. Not important. Okay, so when he rang the bell, what did he have to do? Two neurons firing. Bell, auditory cortex, food, insular temporal cortex. Two completely different parts of the brain, but they pass through the cerebellum. If the bell is firing at the same time as the smell is firing, bell, smell, and they form a synapse. As soon as they form a synapse, you ring the bell, and what happens? Drool. Okay, so if we go back, you can actually see this in action if we have faster internet. I'm going to make a subfolder for this now. It's getting too far down. No, not that one. I got a better one. This one. I need to put some sleazy music on behind this. I am eating breakfast. Nala, the black lab, is watching me eat breakfast. See if you can determine when I'm picking the sandwich up and eating it. Just watch. Oh. So how do I know she's paying attention? Staring. Dogs beg by staring. You notice that, oh, you don't notice this, but there's this really interesting that blind people's dogs don't beg. Why? Staring is ineffective. But again, so as I know, she's adorable. I miss the dog. Okay, I love our little white fluffy dog, but our black lab was so great because she was pretty much dumb as a rock. But I love her very much being dumb as a rock because, like, she would bark at everything. I dug a hole in the yard because our neighbor's house plumbing leaked so bad that I had to dig a hole under our house to collect the water so our house wouldn't get wet. And I used their water to water our lawn. We had the best tomatoes. Okay. So notice that she's looking at the front door. Something is causing attention at the front door. But look how big her eyes are getting. So what do you think's happening with the size of the sandwich? There it is. Last bite of sandwich always goes for dog. Now watch her. Now as soon as she has her last bite of sandwich, boy, she was young then. Her teeth were not that color when we put her down. They were really nasty. People should take care of your dog's teeth. Okay, no sandwich. Can you see a change in her behavior? Wait for it. Looking. And what? Empty napkin. All right then. Is she still going to sit there? Yeah. No, just because she likes me. But is her behavior changed? She's a completely different dog. This is always a classic. So every Sunday, my wife and I used to go to, my wife would sleep in and I would go for fishing or biking or something early in the morning. We still do that every Sunday morning. I get up early and go for some sort of activity. I get home and I make breakfast. She sits there at the breakfast table. How do I know she gets fed at the breakfast table? She has no idea that she's drooling. She has no idea. She just is sitting there. But how do I know she's been fed? The breakfast table is a stimulus for her now. The cheese drawer is a stimulus for our dog. Has this classical conditioning, has this Pavlov added new things to the Umwelt that our dogs are facing? Every time you learn something new, it brings a new thing into your Umwelt. So this morning before class started, I was playing the old Who. And then I started playing some of the Ramones. And then I started playing Green Day. Okay, so what do those have in common? The guys that came up with the Who were kind of like a classic rock band at this point. But when they came out, they were completely avant-garde, completely crazy. They were like the Beatles, but drunk. Okay? And they used to, at the end of their concerts, they used to smash all their equipment and like jump into the fans and do all this crazy stuff. And then the people that like formed the punk movement said, I like that counterculture. I like that anger that they're experiencing. And so the punks, early punks, the Ramones and Sex Pistols and those folks, took from them and drifted their own way and became extremely counterculture. And we could play some Dead Kennedys for you, some of my favorites. But there's a lot of bad language in it. But then, all of a sudden, something happened in the late 80s and early 90s. Punk became popular. So all of a sudden, you have 91X, and what did they play all the time? Alternative music. Well, it became mainstream, and then Green Day and Blink and all these annoying bands. I love them personally, but they're all the same three-chord punk that the Ramones were. But now for a while in the early O's, there was a bunch of Christian punk stores at Parkway Plaza. Weird. Well, yeah, they'd have like a lot of punk-styled clothing, but with like Jesus on it, and which as a punk from the 80s, I'm like, I don't understand. One of the founding songs was I Am the Antichrist because it rhymes with anarchist. That's the only reason he used it, but moving on. Okay. But it's funny how do things change in our Umwelt. What is the primary Umwelt that we all live in? What is our sensory experience? This is, okay, so this is sorry, philosophical here. Hate to do this to you. We live in our consciousness. Our umbelt is our consciousness. How do you shape consciousness? By associations. The more associations you have, the more we shape our consciousness. So like whenever I see someone doing a new yo-yo trick, like there's a trick that I've seen kids do, they're called slack string tricks, which are basically you try to use the string as like a yo-yo. So you, and it's been really hard to try to learn them, so like, I can't do it. I can't. Wait, I know the problem. Can't see the string. Okay, now I can see the string, but I can't see the yo. Oh, come on. There we go. But that's all tangled up. Okay, but I'll take you some time because I don't really spend enough time practicing. But there's all these really cool tricks that the kids do now that are called slack string tricks. I never knew that those were possible until as soon as I saw somebody do a slack string trick, I'm like, oh. And like the grinding tricks, these. I'm getting better at this one. Come on. I said it now, I'm not better at it. Hold on, 1 second. I did it before. Come on! If I can get it all the way around, it's cool. I need my silk glove to do it like properly, but I refuse to wear a silk glove while yo-yoing. But I do a lot of trail mix. My hands are all greasy, so it works really nicely. But so as soon as you know something, as soon as you experience something, what happens to it with humans? Going back to the formula. As soon as you can start to define a behavior, come on now. I've still not figured out exactly how this works. Okay. As soon as you can measure a behavior, then what can you do? Well, you can learn it. And that's the whole thing about the study of learning is adapting your umbelt. Your umbelt are these stimuli. The umbelt are these stimuli. Once you understand the stimuli in the environment and you can measure behavior, you can train anything. You can train anything. But there's a problem. What's the problem? Can I learn to jump my bike? Yes, I'm learning how to jump my bike. I really want to be able to go to the skate park and then come off the lip, turn, and come back down. Really want to do that. It's probably going to happen right before I die. As I'm trying it, probably. The nice drunk man with the tattoos on his stomach said, "Just peg it, dude." How come I can't just peg it, dude? Peg it is the old way of saying send it, by the way. Just old motorcycles had a little pin that kept the throttle at the end, and so when you peg it, you push the peg against the bottom of it, and it little full, yeah, WFO, wide full open, whatever. Okay, so but the kind of drunk guy with the stomach tattoos is actually right, because in order for you to do it, what do you have to do? You have to have enough speed to finish it. So the way you learn is you go up the ramp and then launch off the top and land at the top. Go off the ramp, land at the top, land at the top, land at the top. I can do that now, okay, on the short one, the 3-foot one. But then you have to manual at the top. So you have to lean back. Haven't figured that part out yet. And so but in order to do it, we have to try. What's the problem with trying in a skate park? There's concrete everywhere that you land on. And I have lots of pads and things, I'm that guy. But it's still, at my age, what happens when I crash? I slipped in the mud this summer. I tore my meniscus in this knee and pulled this quad. just slipping in the mud. I did not fall down, and I did not drop my fishing pole, but that's not important. One of the other guys fishing goes, thank you. Okay. It looked like dirt. I jumped off a rock. Boom, boom, ow! 6 months later, I can do squats again. You got to be careful when you're old. You're young, you pull a quad, you stretch 2 days, and you're back in the game. Okay, so the penalty, so the reward versus punishment. So if I look at this formula, you start looking at the stimulus what are stimuli that are reinforcing? The rewards. What's the reward for me jumping off the lip and coming back down? It does look cool. And if anybody's ever jumped things, it's fun. It is a rush, because when you, she's like, no it isn't, keeping ground firmly planted. Okay, but if you're on a bicycle and you jump something and you time it right and land, it's fun. Sometimes there's, up on Anderson Truck Trail, everybody ridden down it before they closed it again? I don't know if it's open again, but we haven't got up there. There's a bunch of big rocks at the top that look like big jumps, but if you just roll over them, you can just roll on your back tire. But you just launch off the jump, and it's a nice big landing zone. You know, you about a 3-foot drop, you just go, woohoo! It is so fun to fly through the air. As long as this doesn't happen, you're good. Okay? And so the reward is very high. But why don't I try it? Because so if I look at the formula, if a punishment is going to detract my probability of trying it, the pain and suffering of crashing is high. It's also, one of the best parts that we go to the Claremont Skate Park, we actually used to, we haven't gone there much this summer. But the last couple of summers we went to anybody went to the Claremont Skate Park in here? No one? Wow. It's really cool. It's a YMCA skate park. Costs like $5 to go. And it's got these giant ramps, and it's really fun. My son and his little friends had these little scooters that they would ride. We bought a really expensive scooter. He used it all summer for 2 summers, and then now it hangs in the rafters in the garage, like most things that we do. I'll end up selling it on Craigslist, making a fortune on it. He doesn't even know that I sold it. Anyway, like his skateboard. Anyway, moving on. So, but when you go to the skate park, it's actually nice because it's this particle board wood, not concrete. So when you fall on it, it doesn't actually hurt as bad. And if you have pads on, you slide. So you don't get, when you slide on concrete, it's painful. It takes skin off. But when you slide on this stuff, if you have a long sleeve shirt on, you just go whoop, and you just get up, and it doesn't really hurt that bad, which is nice. So we've gone there quite a bit, and the kids there, the annoying skater rat kids that you always hate in your neighborhood, are actually super nice to the old people trying to learn how to do stuff. Yeah, I know, it's kind of nice. Hey, look, there's an old guy trying to do stuff. Let's go help him. And so this one kid on a BMX bike was showing me how to do it there's a giant vert ramp that's about 20 feet high on both sides. So he was showing me how to go on the vert ramp and then bunny hop and then turn and go back down. So you can actually just keep yourself going in the vert ramp. And it's fun because it's a way of adding the reward without suffering the punishment. Okay, so now brace yourself. This is complicated in the last 3 minutes. Okay? Rewards come in 2 flavors. This is complicated. Rewards come in 2 flavors. A standard reward is you get something. You get something. If I was mean, what would you get out of coming to class? Well, if I was mean, you get attendance points. But sleeping, you get sleeping. So, is avoiding something bad a reinforcement? Think about this. Avoiding something bad is a reinforcement. So if I'm angry and grouchy if you come in late, people are going to show up on time to avoid me grouching at them. However, what's more rewarding? How come half of you weren't here last class? No, I wasn't sick. Well, sorry, no fun. Well, it's funny, but the reward for coming to class the day after a test is lower than the reward coming to the class the day before the test, because of the probability of changing your grade behavior. People think, right after the test, I don't need to come in. If you're sick, you still come in during the test, because the avoidance value of missing a test is greater than the suffering that you're doing coming to class. It's all a balance of rewards. So punishments also come in two flavors. Punishments come in aversives. Actually, whacking, hitting, unpleasant stimuli are aversive. Aversive. Versus a traffic ticket. In the Soviet Union, there are significantly less traffic violations than there are in the United States. People follow the rules more in the Soviet Union than they do here. Why? If you do anything wrong, you're expected to pay the ticket right then. Yeah! My first traffic infringement in my entire life is I just got coffee, we just got done working out, and on Amherst, if anybody lives in my neighborhood, Amherst has these speed bumps with these slots in them for the ambulances, and if you drive across the yellow line, you can parallel the slots and you don't hit the bumps and you cannot spill your new fresh cup of coffee. So I did that, and all of a sudden the motorcycle cop stands out from behind the car and points to the side. Oh. And I go, it's just license registration. Didn't even say a word. I'm like, what's wrong? Why did I get pulled over? He goes, hands me the ticket. And didn't even say a word the entire time. It didn't spill my coffee, but it cost me $300. Turns out, going across the double yellow line, if I would have put my blinker on and turned, I wouldn't have gotten a ticket. But I know now not to do that. Okay, but how come I didn't really think about it before? I didn't want my coffee. I don't care if my coffee spills because I'm driving and I can know when the bump is going. My passenger, my wife, and our neighbor Alicia, if you're a passenger in a car, it's so much more difficult than the driver in the car. That's why whenever my daughter's taking a sip of something to drink, vroom. Now that she's driving, payback. But I'm smarter because I watch when she's doing it. Okay. Much better interaction today. We still got to work on it.